few years ago, the founder of WSO2 has been here, Sanjeev Rana. He gave a talk on Ballerina. We had even one-day tutorial on Ballerina over the weekend. And today we have Srinath Pereira with us. He's a senior vice president at WSO2. And he is working on artificial intelligence or architecture. He got a PhD from Indiana University on scientific workflows, scientific data by
distributed management actually.
Okay. And from Dennis Gannon. Dennis Gannon is quite famous in scientific computing. He was for a couple of years at Microsoft. Now we here talk about Choreo, which is a new environment that WSO2 has created. We're looking forward to the talk.
Thanks, Frank. Okay, so let me start with the disclaimer. So, Okay, so.
Oh, wait.
No, the problem is I walk away. No,
Don't touch it.
I tried. No, actually, it didn't work. Okay, so I will start with few business things that I put it here because the main target audience is enterprises, and I think it's important to understand that. But then we'll get to the interesting things. Okay, so when you're in the enterprise and if you sell to the enterprise, software is not the end. You cannot tell there's this great algorithm, there's this great way to do things. They'll say, show me the money, right? And actually it is long-term money, not necessarily short-term money. Because if you, even if you make short-term money, and basically that means company will die, good enterprise won't do it. Okay. The second is that what do enterprise looking for? Right? So there are these are a lot of terms that they want to hear, but there's one important thing in for us. Okay, so we're in Greece. So Aristotle talked about 4 cardinal virtues. And he said that the courage is the first virtue. And he said that unless you have it, others doesn't really matter, it can't help, etc. Similarly, in this world, the agility, what that means is that if I have an idea, can I implement and get it out fast? That do really make a difference. Because if you are a logical enterprise, if you can do things fast, you will survive and you will get into the right place. For example, consider the case, 2 products, one is very close to what customer wants, one is off. But if the one that is off is agile, the team that he builds is that product is agile, versus the product that is closer cannot change. What would happen very soon is that given that the first team would watch what customers are doing and fix it quickly, they will take over. Right? So when I talk about the product, we'll come back to some of these topics. But the important point to remember is that it's the agility, especially from software, that we are looking at. Okay, different topic. I'm sure you have heard this term, software is it in the world. Why? The simple answer is world is very inefficient. And software basically give you information that will optimize it. I'm sure most of you are traveling, and one of the most inefficient places in the world is when you travel. Right? So much time you spend staring at nothing, and they just make you wait for reasons you don't know, right?
But it can be relaxing.
Yes, no, there was a time actually we were completely cut off. Then it was relaxing if everybody's bugging you, actually for frank for you. But I think we are going off that because now we are online and they still keep calling you.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Right. So what that means is that software is becoming a competitive advantage for most companies, even non-software, even for airlines, even for banks. Right? Let me, as an example, let me take this case. I was traveling, I was in US, international flight just landed, get off. The next connection has been cancelled. They gave me this piece of paper had with the phone number and said, call this. I didn't have US phone number before. And they didn't even, I mean, of course, I eventually go and like beg and like find somebody to fix it. But this years ago, now it's a little bit better. Actually, it's much better in Europe. But no, you haven't been on the other end. So if you want like horror stories, talk to me. I'll tell you. But let's say there's somebody in airline say that there's a better way to handle this. Okay, so flight cancels. Why don't we send an email to each guy who affected with list of alternative options and say choose one, right? Reduce 90% of the calls. It'll be better for everyone, right? Great. Now the problem is this great. Actually, I'm sure this has been occurred to somebody so many times. And when you go and ask the IT to fix it, they say, oh, okay, we will consider it. And even if it typically like come back in 2 years, we might fix it, right? So this is the problem. Now, if there is an airline who is agile, who can fix their systems faster, right, and hopefully listen to like good ideas, 1, 2, 3 years, they'll just kill everybody else off because the experience will be so good that nobody else wants to go in any other things. Because this very important thing about software that we architect, we think we understand what users want, we don't. Hopefully we understand better than random guy we pick in the street, but reality, the real case, we don't. We have to watch what's going on, pay attention and fix it. If you do it for a year, you will, like if you do it for a year and if you are agile, you will kill all other competition. So, the speed is the key. Two things coming in your way. One is developers. They're very hard to find. They're very hard to find. The second is the software development life cycle is very, very competitive. So, I have a slide in a little bit going through that, but what that means is running something in production and real setting versus you write a solution on a laptop, send a request and say it's done, that you only done like 10 to 20%. Right, because you have to worry about HA, you have to worry about fault tolerance, you have to worry about security. There's a long list of things. Deployment, how do you debug? If something goes wrong, how do you know? All those things. We'll get into the details. So, if we can reduce those all other problems and let you just code that, even that's a big issue. This lot of generalizations, but very high level idea, right? So if you go into enterprise system, and I guess for most other systems also, you have databases, you might talk to external APIs, if you are in the newer world at least, right? You may or may not. There will be some internal microservices, there will be some vendor systems you are running, HR system, pay, etc. There are some systems that may be mainframes, even running COBOL, actually 30-40% of them do all still, right? Although we don't realize it. Okay, so you have this. Then you have this layer of business logic, workflows, processes, integrations, which connect these things and create APIs. End of the day. You would have some layer called API management, and IAM stands for Identity and Access Management, which would expose those APIs. And there are mobile apps, web apps, and few other things that actually work close to the user, talk to those APIs, and keep things happening. Now on the side there are AI, there are observability, there are the SRE things, and there are, this is gross generalization, there are things I have not mentioned. Now, if you take that airline use case, and if you are trying to fix it, now in this world, touching the baby is very, very hard. Now, okay, sometimes you have to do it, but okay, you pray you don't have to, right? Because it's very painful. But typical things you touch are, you would like to touch the UI and the business logic only possible, but sometimes you have to touch the microservices, and once in a while you have to touch the database as well. So these green things are kind of things that we need. That's a part we want to make agile. So what that means is that when this requirement comes, right, you break it down saying, okay, doing that need these UI changes, I need to generate this email. Now these are the information I need to do that. So okay, I will use the existing APIs. Okay, look, there's a gap. So we need that fix there, etc. And then if you are lucky, it's just a combination of existing things. Then it's much faster. But if you are unlucky, you may have to write a new microservices. If you are very, very unlucky, you need to change into the database that's very good, and then they say, forget it. So okay, so this it's a gross generalization, but it tells where we are looking. So now, when we try to do this, right? So let's say that doing this airline flight miss use case need you to write a one microservice, do some changes, etc. Basically, this is what you face, right? Because basically, it starts from the user stories, making sure the security is possible, making sure it makes sense. Then basically you write the code, but for writing the code, you want to know what are the other services. You go to the marketplace, there are some templates you can use, you might write a microservice, suggestions, AI suggestions, etc. might help you. Now you want to debug, if it is complicated enough, it doesn't work right away. And you need source code, you need those things, right? Now, okay, fine, it works in your laptop, now you want to get it to production. You have to deal with Kubernetes, walls, environments, releases, etc. Talk to people, get that done. Then you can test it in production, right? With real, test it in staging, data close to the real data, and then when you're happy, usually you put it to production, but send a percentage of traffic and cross-over, right? And this thing has to go out as API. That means you need to handle security, you need to handle who can access it, all those things. API management come into the play. And when you let it run, you want to know what happened. If something failed, what caused this, right? How do I know what happened, where to debug, how to fix it, all these things. So the truth is the reason these systems are hard is not just because people don't know how to write a for loop or a while loop. I mean, if that is the case, this would have been solved years ago, but that's not, right? The problem is the difference between a great developer and an average guy is the understanding of all these things and making it work. So, stepping back, Socrates is in the world, right? And agility is what companies are looking for, enterprises are looking for. We need to build new experiences. We need to improve the experiences, and we have to do it fast. But the software development lifecycle is much, much bigger than the development. So we need to simplify that, right? So that's where we are coming to. Now, if you are basically executive who is in this situation where you have to handle, you are responsible for that, you have three choices. A, you tell your developers, you on your own, figure it out. Don't come and complain, but this has to be done. You can try it. Okay, it depends on how good they are and how good problem, they may have figured out a process and you following it. If you are very, very lucky, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it happens. But the real choice is usually that you need a platform that handles all this detail about software development lifecycle, right? And let them just write code, not worry about the rest of the details, right? You could build one yourself, such a platform, or you could buy one. Right? So if you build one, you have a lot more control, but you would be spending time and money on things that are unrelated. Like if you are an airline and if you are building your own platform, not that easy to explain to your director board that, oh, we are building this new great software platform that will change the world. Maybe you can, but not very often. Or you adopt the platform, but when you adopt somebody else's platform, they have made some choices for you. Such is life. I mean, you have to work within that, right? So Choreo is such a platform. What Choreo gives is, it's an environment where you can just code and we take care of the rest. So, I mean, we don't take care of everything yet, but we take care of a lot, right? And there are a lot in the way. So, very high level. So, read this first API as a service for now. It's a long discussion why we call these APIs. Because there's a confusion outside, some people call services APIs. But forget that. So, API proxies are API. So, basically you can come, you can write a service. You can write an integration. Integration means code that talk to existing other systems and connect them and make something work. That middle layer, the reasons for big processors, integration, that layer. You can create API if you have a service already running and you want to expose it securely and manage it. That's API proxy. Or API, it's a pretty name, but we'll stick with that. These two things are coming. Let's ignore them. I mean, microservices, you can do 90% already, but if you are to be called microservices platform, there are certain things we have to do. There are some things missing, so we don't call that. But okay, so I'll jump into the demo in a minute, but very high level, right? So basically, we take care of these four things, right? We handle the infrastructure. You don't have to know communities, you don't see any of those details. We give an environment where you can develop, right? Basically, we let you open VS Code, you will see it in a minute. We take care of the deployment, different environments, scale, edge, moving between the environments, those kind of things. And we basically let something goes wrong, you can know why. right? Plus we do that at the business level and we do that at the code level for a developer or for a business person. Okay, so okay, let's hope things will work. If I'll shout, would you hear?
No.
No, right? No. Okay, let's.
I have an idea. Just give me a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that does. Thank you. Simple solutions.
Absolutely. I'm an architect.
So, you can log in from basically, I'll just log in, but you can create an account. It's free, right? So, okay, it should have asked for password. It didn't because I was just working on this in the morning, right? So now, okay, you can have your own project. I have created this project called SOC 2022. I was just testing in the morning. I will, okay. So the demo I'm trying to do is there is this service called COVID Statistics Service, right? You can make a call and get your name of the country and get how many cases. You can get a lot of other numbers, but I will focus on getting how many cases that have been happened over time. You can get the yesterday's number as well, but anyway, so I'm just getting all the numbers. And then there's another service from the World Bank. You can get the population. So I'm calling first one, getting the results, calling the second one, getting the result, divide and return a data structure with basically say cases per million. So, okay, so let me go here. Okay. I have set this up a little bit so that we'll do this a bit faster. Right here, now I want to edit this. I would click here. Right. So now what will happen is that basically there's this ID editor called VS Code. How many have used VS Code? Just okay, great. At least so this is the Microsoft open source editor. Very flexible. You can put things in. Etc. So what we are doing is nice thing is it runs in the browser. It's actually always runs in the browser. It runs in the browser. They put it into a widget and show it in your machine. So the nice thing is basically we can run it in the browser. So what now this does is what it just did was it went to my GitHub. First of all, Choreo create a container for me, right? Which went to GitHub, grab my code into the container, and start the VS Code initialize into this. Right now, I have my own thing to try, etc. Okay, so now, okay. The interesting thing in Choreo, Choreo supports other languages as well, but I would do the demo with Ballerina. Ballerina is language we created a few years back. Some of you may have heard it. details in the last time. I'll talk about it later. The nice thing is there's a visual experience, but there's code. It is designed from the day one that every statement has a visual counterpart, meaningful visual counterpart. So it is the only language where you can go and edit the code and it change the visual picture. You can change the visual picture, change the code, you can keep going back and forth, it doesn't mess it up. Because there are a lot of tools that you can do the visual thing, you got the code. Not too hard. The only thing is somebody go and mess with the code, you are in big trouble. It doesn't happen in Choreo. Okay, so I have set up few things, right? But now I will try to call our COID service. So basically it's a connector. So there are existing APIs already built into the Choreo, right? You can add. Actually, any service that has open API specification, Choreo can basically create a connector automatically. You can write your own if you want to do more, but okay. So I go and I find it. This they call it. This fine. I have to click this. Right. So I have to select what I want to do. So there is supposed to be something called get country.
Global status?
No, sorry, get status by country.
country.
Yes, get status by country. Here, okay, you have to give it a country. So there's an input parameter called, I will show here. So this API has an input parameter, take a country name. I'm going to pass it here. Okay, so now you see code change, picture change, right? Okay. So now, in interest of time, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I have the rest of the code. I will copy and paste and explain. So this imports etc. when I go through the UI, it just handles all the detail. I'm cheating, sorry. Now this code thing I already did. I'm removing that. So you will see that like suddenly it has 3 calls, like all the unnecessary details. But then I'll remove these 2. So the thing is you can go back and forth, right? And so if you have written this kind of code, the one of the very painful part is that you have to go and read the spec of that service, find out everything, basically copy and paste, figure out everything, right? So those details they will handle. Now, some of the like for example this statement, actually it is easier writing code, at least for us who understand code, it's easier to write it directly. So at least for people like us, right, the biggest value is that you can go back and forth, right? It's not just that I'll live in the low code world. But there are some things that are painful. You have to figure out a lot of things. You go and do it in the picture. It happens. You come and then edit and etc. So this great. Okay. So then there's this nice thing. It says it is forecasting that it will have a TPS of
16 requests per second.
oh yeah, 16 requests per second and latency of 61 milliseconds. Malik will talk in a little bit on how it works, all the machine learning models, all the magic, but here what happens is, now remember we haven't run the thing yet. We didn't run it. This is static code analysis using historical data on how long this request code takes, right? And some queue theory. Malik will talk about this. The point is, as you code, it gives you feedback. Right? Very common thing that happens when you deal with APIs is that you write this nice for loop and put the API call into it. Bad idea. If your loop run once, fine. If your loop run 20 times and you call API, your latency will go off the roof. Right? So now, if you do that, this will tell you something wrong. Right? So this is static performance feedback as you code. Right? Okay, so now it become red here. That means I haven't checked this in. Remember, this is VS Code. Right? This VS Code running in this container that boot up for me. When I stop this, it will be gone. So I need to check this in. So I will go here and say I want to save these changes. And okay. I'm committing. Right, so what this will do is, this will check it, commit it back into GitHub. Okay. So what happens is, I wrote my code in VS Code, this will commit it into GitHub. Now the Choreo can pick it up and deploy into production. I have to push. These are the normal GitHub things, right? Because you have to commit first, then you have to push it. Unfortunately, the way the VS Code works, you cannot give a prompt, etc. So, okay. Now I will go back, right? So I will say deploy. Okay, yes, my changes are there, right? It says I checked in something 46 seconds ago. Right? Now I want to put this into development environment, right? To make sure it works, right? So I basically say deploy. Right. So okay, now it will take some time, but I will explain what's going on. Right. So if you run a production system, you do not like random people to come and change your running code and do things, right? Because you might have usually you have customers coming and doing things. So what you do is you set up multiple environments. You sometimes even more than like here we have two. So you first push here, you test it limited way, when it is good enough, it goes to the production. Right? So that's one detail this will take care of. The second thing is that you need security. Okay, deployed, right? Yes, okay. So this basically now service is up, it basically create an API for configure security for it, configure HA, high availability, do a scale setup. All these are done, right? I mean, you just click the button. So when you go down, basically you can see the test. So try out. I'll say GR for Greece and click campaign. Okay, it worked. Sorry, okay. I had a shock when I get the number, but this is all the cases now. Just cases. So. Yeah, good. So, okay, so great, it worked. I went back. I said promote. I want that in production now. I push it to production. Okay, production don't have to build it, just move the container so it's fast. I want to test again. I go here. I say tryout. I say release. I say execute. Okay. Okay, good. Right. So okay, I just say execute a couple of times too, so that when we go to observe it, we'll see some data. I will go back to deploy. I will say observe. Right. Now, okay. So now what happened? I just highlight two things, right? So all the logs you see on the side. The latencies, you see these things on the basically against time, right? Latencies and errors. So we actually collect each request level information. Here you can see how long each of these parts took.
Right, it took longer than the 60 milliseconds, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
Malin will talk about some
Why? He will tell why.
those challenges. Okay, so okay, I think yeah. So that covers it. So okay, no. Okay, so okay, that's like limited test. So okay, we had. We will talk. So this is. So this is the main use case. Then I will dig into the architecture. So just make sure.
Should supposed to be 5 minutes.
5 minutes, right? Yes, sir. Okay, so let me. I go fast. Okay, I can skip this. This arts and marketing always exaggerate, so don't read. It just basically say you can get things faster, right? So this very high level view of the architecture of this system. That development part is what we saw. Basically, developer comes, he want to develop we create VS Code that basically there are connectors available, there's a marketplace, there are data metering, etc. He write the code, push it to GitHub, and then say deploy happens. That part we call control plane. It runs only on Azure. Where we deploy, we call data plane. That can run on other clouds or even in your data center, right? So when a user of our user comes and want to do something, he goes through API management, goes through security, etc., do things, etc. So same thing, I'm skipping, this is the picture we saw. There are a lot of other things. The idea is that you just come and write the code, we take care of the rest, right? So this is very important. One very good news for researchers. is that these platforms concentrates data, the requirement and the money into one place so that some of these problems can be justified to spend money. Like for example, this performance analyst thing. Here, because there are a lot of people, right? The need is clear. One person has the need and the money and the ability to do it, so that much bigger use cases than before can be done, and more harder problems can be solved because these platforms concentrate the users into one place. I think that's very important. This I explained. Basically, we start a container. So there are a lot more going on to give you suggestions, AI, etc. This also we saw. We will very soon support other programming languages as well. I mean, Ballerina give you a lot more, but the point is that programming languages are like religion, and you cannot ask them to convert right away, right? So you get them in, convince step by step. This I will skip. If you want, there are links there, you can look at it. I'll just explain this, and I think, so same use case we were talking about, right? There are quantum computers, there are use cases, and they are exposed through God. Now, they can become connectors within Choreo. Basically what that means, you can come to Choreo, open a VS Code, program your quantum applications, mix in those quantum operators, connectors, and other code, other connectors, any way you like, write the code, push the button, the magic will happen. And you will get a lot of these things like performance suggestions, everything that comes from the platform, Observability etc., come for you for free, right? But there's a huge difference between going into an existing platform versus like trying to build this completely from ground up, a lot of work. So I think that's fine. Okay, I won't go through this, but any of these sound interesting, talk to me, I can tell you the problems, right? But some of these are on, as a paper they are solved, but when you bring it into the system, there are other details that come up. We would, as WSO2, we want to solve each of these problems. Right, just to give, for example, test case generation. Ask the user to do 3 requests, then we generate test cases, right, etc. So, some of the lessons. Main thing is that one of the biggest thing, work with one cloud, because working across many and making it work is very, very hard. Other thing is we basically use these systems, standards, etc., make this possible. I mean, otherwise this scope is not possible. Thanks very much.
Any questions?
I have a question. Thanks for your talk. I'm not an expert in this field.
Sorry.
I'm not an expert in this field. Can you say in one sentence what was the central idea of your talk?
So I think the central idea is that if you basically build systems and try to run it in real life situation, there are a lot of other details that come in your way, right? The goal of Choreo is to just let you write the code and it will take care of the rest of the details. Abstract it out and hide it, and then at least for a common case. Right? Complicated case you have to do it and clear. Yes.
Oh,
Thank you for the talk. My main question is, when you gradually add functionality to your system, there may be quite fast, you may reach a point where you may want to rethink and say that this piece of code and this piece of code I can do better, right? So the functionality, when you have a lot of small functions, then maybe you performance may dictate, even if you go to databases and perform joins and things like that, that you have to wipe all this away and write a different function that compensates for all this.
Yes.
Do you have this on your agenda?
So the way we approach that is that we basically, as architects, we basically say you cannot see all the scenarios.
Yes.
Because the real reason
And after some time, you might recognize
Yes.
this, somebody has added this piece of code, somebody this piece of code, and then we say, okay, let's have a service from Azure that some other one provides who is helping the two
Yes.
functions in giving you a higher level result, right?
Yes. Basically we approach it in two ways. A is that this service oriented or API oriented now. These architectures basically try to keep things separated so that you can recombine, so you have some level of flexibility going forward. But, right, so there are some use cases you will figure out, I was wrong. You go back and redo it, right? So, unless personally any architect I look, so I tell my guys, like, in 5 years, ask the question, when can I rewrite this? When can I get enough money to rewrite it? Do not try to solve the problem beyond that point. Because, I mean, if, let's say, if you are a startup, you are trying to get, like, say, if you can get to the point you get 10,000 TPS, you will be rich, most likely. Okay, you have enough money to rewrite it. So don't go beyond that point, right? So, I mean, you keep your options open, but you accept that there are nothing permanent in this world.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So in the interest of time, thanks again.
Thanks, man.
Next speaker will be Ralf Gerger-Zinke. He's the head of research and artificial intelligence at WSO2, and he gives a talk on using AI